Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome to Red Storm Chasers. I'm Vincent here with Cragg and Tim. On this episode, we're going to look back at the win against Xavier, the final game of the season, which was a loss against Marquette. We'll be joined by St. John's Athletic Director Mike Cragg, and we'll look ahead to the Big East tournament. Guys, as we start the show, the question I have for you this week is...
Irish soda bread, raisins or no raisins?
That is a good question. The answer is always no raisins. But
it's absolutely raisins.
that's a horrible take, Craig. The question I have for you, though, just because you control the soundboard doesn't make you right.
I have the power.
I can the power to mute you at any moment.
Do you go light cabbage or heavy cabbage?
No cabbage. Come on, that's horrible.
Cabbage is garnished.
Yeah, exactly. I like to get the cabbage juice at the bottom of the plate. That's what I really enjoy.
It's not Pizza Hut kale where you're just dancing around the pizza.
It is no cabbage, no raisins. Give me just corned beef straight.
But
Straight, no chaser.
But you gotta get the Irish butter.
Oh, Kerrygold butter.
Definitely,
Gotta have
Yep.
Kerrygold butter.
Went up in price this year.
Well,
It's that oil.
it's that oil. It's delicious, though. It's delicious. All right, the question I have for you is this. You have to sing a karaoke song. What song is your song of choice? Same rules as always, by the way. Your song gets taken. You got to pick another one.
I'm ready when you are.
Good. Fire away.
I know you guys ain't gonna pick mine, so I'm not too worried.
I'm going to say Country Roads.
You can go ahead and say
Oh,
that.
damn. I was just trying to take...
So,
Trying to hop in and take
I was trying to take Tim.
okay, Craig, start singing.
No.
You know,
It's not
lyric-
karaoke.
you-
This is a podcast,
See-
okay? It's
So-
not the time.
Mine actually, it's not something I would normally pick, but it's because when my daughter was younger, we had to sing to her a lot to calm her down because she had gastro problems. So I actually used to sing Old Dominion, No Such Thing as a Broken Heart. That was something that she really enjoyed to hear that. And what was the other one? It was that and One Man Band. Those two songs she loved to hear me sing. So those are the two songs I can be on key and just recite. to
No,
a T.
right away.
Yep.
Craig tried to steal your pick. Bad guy move by Craig. Didn't even pan out for him.
It was a villain move, but I actually...
You can't bunch of crunch me, so don't worry.
I was trying.
Bunch of Crunch came out so fast that no one was ever getting that one, although it is still a great snack. Craig, you got to pick one, bro.
Oh, right. I have to pick a real one.
Just pick a real one.
I would
kid.
say, off the top of my head, I was just trying to think of how I could steal Tim's. So I would say, "Don't Stop Me Now" from Queen.
Oh, that's a good
Nice.
one. I do enjoy that
I like
song.
that song. I'm a big
Don't Stop
fan.
Me Now is a very good one.
It's a great song.
I go Living on a Prayer. We're from New Jersey.
Okay, I was
You
like,
have to go
I was
Living
like,
on a Prayer. Come
someone's
on.
got to do Jersey. here.
Someone's got to do us right, for God's sakes. You
Somebody-
guys, bunch of bums over
I
there.
would have done. I could have done Bruce.
Well, too late, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it?
Isn't it? It's St. Patrick's Day almost. We're gonna talk like we're from the Emerald Isle. All right, let's get into some St. John's basketball. The end of the season, the final week of the regular season, all upon us. Last week, St. John's came away, split the week. A win against Xavier on Wednesday started things off. It was senior night, final home game of the season at Carnesecca Arena, 81-66. A good win. A good win against the Musketeers. That was absurd. Oh, boy. Tyreek Coburn led the way with 20 points. Great night for Tyreek Coburn. Julian had a great, potentially last game at Carnesecca Arena. 19 points for him, 8 rebounds as well. Posh, another spectacular night. 17 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. We did a great job shooting from three. 36% from three. Held Xavier to 17% from three. For the Musketeers, it was Kobe Jones leading the way with 13 points. Jack Nunji had 12. He also had 11 rebounds to go along with it. 9 turnovers only by the Musketeers. Pretty low number. But we did everything we had to do to win. And We played well against them when we were in Ohio, and you wondered, can we play at that same level again to a team that's most likely looking at the possibility of being in the tournament? And the answer was yes. And we came out big. It was senior night. It was Marcus Hatton bobblehead night. It was a great night for us to finish out the season in our last home game.
Also shot 85% from the line, so another good game for our free throw shooting, which is a great thing to see going, especially into the tournament. We are going to be getting some free throw time at that point. People start getting tired. People get sloppy. So if we make it past DePaul, make it past the second game, get into the third, that's where our free throw shooting needs to be good. So
I mean, as throughout the season, we've seen when our free throw shooting is good, we win games. When our free throw shooting is not good, we lose games. I mean, frankly, a few free throws here and there across the season. We're talking about a much different week coming forward. So
Absolutely.
the free throws has been an issue, and when they're good, we know we're good. So we were very good against Xavier. A very good senior night. Julian had a great night, which is great in what might be, like Vincent said, his last game at Cornerstone. I know he really wanted to. If you read the article in the Post from Zach, he really wanted to show out and have a great game. His last game, he wanted to go out the way he wanted to, and I think he did. I mean, he had 19 points. He took over, and we really took this game over in the second half. And once the second half came, we took the lead and it kind of put the foot on the gas, and this game was not close in most of the second half.
yeah, and Wheeler got a double-double, which is always nice to see him get some love there.
Absolutely. And Tyree Coburn, we got big help from an unexpected place, and it turned out well for us.
Man, give the guy a week off from school from trying to be a doctor. All of a sudden he drops 20.
I mean, he looked good too. He looked really, really good. This is the flashes of brilliance that we've seen from this team, right? I mean,
Absolutely. This is a prime example.
this is one of the things that has made this season frustrating, I think, as for fans, because we see them play well against Xavier. We know they can do it, and they have they have the talent to do it.
Yeah.
And just things have not gone our way, and that's been the frustration, because we're right there. We're right there. And against Xavier, we were dominated, and we dominated them now twice. And like Vince said, they're a tournament team. So yeah.
I mean, Coburn, instead of breaking down the anatomy, was breaking down the anatomy of a defense. So
Absolutely. And listen, we got to give some shout outs to Marcus Hatton. Great night for him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Me and Tim were there. Got to actually sit down and talk with him for a while and watch some of the game. Broke down some things, which is great to get his perspective on it. And we're happy for him. We're really happy for him.
Unfortunately, the other game of the week was a disappointing one. A loss in our final game of the regular season in Milwaukee against Marquette, 85-77. That game was Saturday night. Justin Lewis led all scorers with 28 points. Darrell Morsell also had 20 for the Golden Eagles. For St. John's, it was Dylan Adewusu who led the way with 19 points. Julian had 15, Wheeler had 11, and Naiwi had 10 points. A good night for him. Tough night for Posh Alexander, though. First night getting shut out this season. 0 points, only 4 shots, but he did have 9 assists. So good job by him to at least facilitate. 26% from 3, really a number that hurt us big time. They shot 32%. We had John Fanta on, and he said this was going to be a tough matchup for us. We were right there. We were in this game. We just couldn't come away with the win. This is one that slipped through our hands. And it's tough to see final regular season game. Now, fortunately, you never want to. A loss never doesn't impact you. It had no impact on our seeding, though. It was not changing anything. We were locked in at the 7th seed in the Big East tournament. So, fortunately for us, it's not like we slid down to a worse matchup because of it. It's just an unfortunate loss.
Right. That win over Xavier on senior night secured us the 7th seed. And the ability to play at 7 o'clock opposed to playing at 4:30 in the afternoon, and then having to play a quick turnaround at noon, which we'll talk about later when we talk about the Big East tournament. But that was, so look, it was Marquette away. Marquette is they're a tournament team too. We didn't get to play them at home, unfortunately, this year. Just the scheduling didn't work out. We lost the game to COVID. But like Vince said, the game didn't impact in terms of our seeding or anything like that. And look, we want to win every game. Look, we don't, nobody goes out there to lose. But unfortunately, we just, they made a couple more plays than we did, and they came out on the winning end.
Yeah, I mean it's a Shaka Smart team. He always coaches well, and I mean, unfortunately, Texas didn't see it in him, didn't give him enough time. Now they did get a good coach in Chris Beard, but hey, Marquette picked him up after getting rid of Woj, which everyone was kind of questioning. Get rid of a coach that brought you so much success, and then to have Shaka fall in your lap, they got really lucky.
They did a good
They
job.
did do a good job, and they a little bit of luck, but a little bit of good job. I mean, good job seeking that out, and Shaka Smart built that VCU program into what it is. It's a team that constantly makes the tournament, even now, years beyond him being there. So, he is a really good coach, and he did really fall into their lap, and just another team on the list of Big East teams that's going to have a great coach and be tough to beat for years to come.
Can we also talk about how at Marquette, apparently you're allowed to hang on the rim, but St. John's is never allowed to hang on the
No,
rim?
I'm sorry. Only teams against St. John's
Yeah.
are allowed
Okay,
to hang on
sorry.
the rim.
But
It's not specifically Marquette. It's any team playing St. John's
Gotcha.
in any gym, and
Gotcha.
St. John's is just
Or-
never allowed to hang on.
or anyone named Montez Mathis.
No. Montez Mathis isn't even allowed to go near blocking the rim. He gets flagrant kicked out of the game for that. But their guys allowed to
Or-
do some chin ups.
Yeah.
Do a little crunch exercise on the.
I mean, I
on the
hate
rim
that.
there.
I hate that rule in general because, like, who really cares? Why is it stupid? But whatever.
It
If it's
should-
going to be a rule, then apply it across the.
Well, no, the
board.
problem is that rule. It's a rule that I've only ever seen called on St. John's. I don't think I've ever literally watched a basketball game where I've seen that called on anybody else.
It's the absurdity of it. So they want to do it so you don't break the rim or mess with the backboard. But those are dunks that people hang and like slap the backboard and pull themselves up. There's a difference between hanging on and like yanking on. It's
Sure.
The refs were inconsistent, which is tough, but
that wasn't,
that's not why
that
we
wasn't,
lost.
That wasn't the problem why we lost.
No, it wasn't. But
I just wanted to complain a little bit about it.
well, they deserve to be complained about a bit because you're inconsistent. All you need is consistency.
Let's talk about Dylan Dewusu, who actually had a good game for the first time in a while. He has struggled.
Yeah, he had struggled and it was good bounce
But it was
back.
he had a good game. What, 19 points?
Yeah.
And he looked good, and he continues to be an enigma.
His 3-point percentage this year has skyrocketed.
It has.
His assist, I think, is at least doubled at this point. His points are up. He's a guy that he has a very simple shot. It's a quick release. It's not much effort, which for end of a game, you don't want a guy jumping really high to do a jumper. You want something very consistent, very simple. And let me say this before I make the statement. I'm no way comparing him to Ray Allen as a shooter. But in form, it's a simple release, which Ray Allen was a simple release.
So you think he's like Ray Allen? Is what you're trying to say?
Form. Not the shot, the form.
I think that Tim just
I think
compared
that- I think
Dylan
it's
Dewusu to Ray Allen.
I
That's
think
what I got out of that.
even to say the form is the same is a bit of a stretch.
It's a simple shot, not much effort, and
Yeah,
it's a quick
Ray
release.
Allen's like the best college 3-point shooter maybe of all time.
Yes.
Dylan is not.
But the
he's
effort...
better than he gets credit for.
Yeah.
Actually, if you look at his numbers.
Okay, he's better than he gets credit for, but
I'm not a Ray Allen.
all I'm
guy.
saying is it's a stretch. All right, well, that ended our regular season there. So just to put a cap on the season, see where we finished. 16-14 overall on the year, 8-11 in conference. Some accolades to go home with though. Julian Champagny, first team All Big East,
Back-to-back.
back-to-back years for him.
One of the very few. If you read the article in the Post, I think it was
It
only
was Mullen.
Shamori,
Was the last one, yeah.
Malik, Sealy, Mullen, D'Angelo Harrison.
Yeah.
I believe the only other St. John's players get back-to-back first team All Big East.
Posh Alexander got an honorable mention
Yep.
in terms of the All Big East teams. That's a bit of a snub, by the way.
Still one of
Yeah.
those underrated players in the Big East.
I-
Can only get an honorable mention.
You weren't here last week, Craig. We went on a bit of a rant about how I think Posh Alexander is actually the best player on our team, but that's a clear snub. He is, even if he's not the best player on our team, he's certainly one of the best guards in college basketball,
Well,
and he deserves way more recognition than he gets.
you compare him to Colin, better assist to turnover ratio, less fouls committed, higher rebounds, higher steals, more blocks. yeah, he scores less. but
He's top
it's
10.
also a point guard.
I mean, he very well could be Defensive Player of the Year again this year, which means he'll have won
Absolutely.
2 Defensive Players of the Year,
Let's
and
be
will not
serious.
be ever
He's
been on
top
a first
10
or
in
second team.
4 stat categories.
Well, let's be serious. They're going to give him Co again. They're going to put someone else there.
Points per game, he's 8th. Steals, he's 1st. Assists, he's top 10. Rebounds, offensive rebounds, he's top 5.
Offensive rebounds,
Which, by the way, he's 6 feet tall.
right?
Yeah, maybe.
It doesn't get enough recognition, and this is another clear example of it. But good to go home. Good for Julian to be on that. I guess good for Posh to get an honorable mention, even though he deserved more.
Vincent, going back to last week, by the way, I did listen to your Posh Alexander tirade, which was great. I agree with Posh getting a lot of credit, but I have to respectfully say that I believe that Julian's the best player on the team.
I mean, listen, I understand he's the best NBA prospect on our team.
No, he's the best. I mean, he's the best player on our team. If Julian doesn't score 20 points a game, we'll never win. Frankly,
Posh Alexander shoots a higher percentage, has more assists, has more steals.
Julian has been forced into a role where he's trying to take more shots this year than he usually does.
Julian Champagny,
which lowered his percentages.
Julian Champagny was, because of what he heard when he went and tested the waters last year, was left to, on his own, be a guy who created his own plays more, which is why he got the ball more and got more of those opportunities, and he didn't do as well as he could have done off the ball. That's not Posh Alexander's fault.
I'm not blaming Posh Alexander, and I think,
Well, my point is that doesn't take away from Posh Alexander.
no, but I also think it takes away from Julian Champagny. I mean, Julian Champagny is still the second leading scorer in the Big East. Was led the league in scoring, Big East in scoring last year. He's a 2-time first. I mean, whatever you think
He's
of whether it's
spectacular.
Posh Alexander, we have to give credit to Julian. I mean, Julian.
I was not taking away. The point of it was not to take away credit from Julian Champagny. It was just to give Posh Alexander more credit than he gets.
No, I think I agree with you. I think Posh is vastly underrated. But I just think Julian. I think Julian's best player on the team. I think that doesn't minimize the importance of Posh, who helps us, who's the engine.
Yeah.
But I think,
Well,
I think Julian's is our best player.
well, the NBA scouts did tell him he also had to improve his defense, and he's almost averaging 2 steals and over a block a game. So
yeah, he
He
has
has
done
done
that.
that. That is true.
maybe
Julian Champagny's a fantastic player. It's just
maybe defensive players of the year in the Big East are Julian and Posh.
They'll never do that. They'll never do that.
Dan Hurley would pretty much like have a stroke at that point.
They'll never do that. Maybe they should do that, but they'll never do that. It should be Posh Alexander probably.
It should be Posh Alexander by himself. I mean,
they'll give it to like Sunogo or someone.
they probably will.
All right, now we are joined by a very special guest. We have the director of athletics at St. John's University, Mike Cragg, with us. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
It's going great. Sitting here in my office, as you can see behind me, and getting ready for an exciting week ahead of Big East tournament basketball.
It is always an exciting time when the Big East tournament is happening. Thanks for coming on. We do really appreciate you taking the time out to be with us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, and congratulations on all the success of Storm Chasers. And I was actually watching some, I guess, real life Storm Chasers last night. I want to watch the Iowa Tornadoes from a couple days ago, so I'm familiar with the term. So I'm glad to know we're being chased as well.
Well, it's fun to chase along. It's always fun.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit of your history. We'll start off there. So you went to the University of Washington, and you then went across the country to North Carolina to work at Duke. What was that like? What drew you to Duke? Obviously it's Duke, but what made you make that very long trip across the country?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny. I mean, I grew up in a small town in Eastern Washington, Yakima, Washington. Those that follow hardcore hoops know the Yakima Sun Kings from the D League before there was a G League, but that was long after my days. But anyway, I went to the University of Washington, as you mentioned, communications major, and worked in sports information there for all 4 years as a student in the athletic department. And little did I know when I arrived that they actually pay people to work in sports. And I had played many sports growing up, and my dad was an assistant football coach at a junior college, Yakima Valley College in Yakima. And I started traveling with the team when I was like in middle school, maybe even sixth grade, and kept stats. And again, kind of the same story on the sidelines. I'd call the newspaper and say, here are the scores, here's the stats. And again, little did I know that that's what sports information is. And again, people pay you to do this. So I became the intern at the Pac-10 conference office. Obviously now it's the Pac-12, but moved to Walnut Creek, California, and was that job for a year. And you mentioned Duke would obviously be attractive, but what's interesting, long before the internet and all those days that we live in now, a little classified ad at the end of the NCAA news before any of you guys were born, by the way. And it was a job listing for assistant sports information director doing women's basketball. It's its primary job and working game stats, et cetera. And I applied for it, didn't know anybody. And my fiance, my wife now of 33 years, said, what the heck, and all this. And so but I got the job, drove across Interstate 40 in my Chevy S10 and told her, Paige is her name, that we'd be back in 2 or 3 years. She's from California, and we'd be back home. And 31 years at Duke and 4 years or almost 4 years here, and we still haven't made it back, and not looking to go back anytime soon. And so no, we love it. And Duke was not Duke as you know it. Duke was a very mom and pop, small athletic department with a relatively young head coach that had been to one Final Four, and but was right on the brink of something. And so my first 5 years, we went to 5 straight Final Fours and
Pretty good start.
Championships. Pretty good start. And I was elevated from being assistant SID to being the SID in the middle of all that. And anyway, you haven't asked any more questions. I'm filibustering. Sorry.
No, it's great. It's good, great background. It's an interesting story. But you said you spent 31 years at Duke. So what's kind of one thing you would say you took away from working with Coach K?
Oh gosh, I mean, I take so many things away from working with Coach K. And then my mentor, Kevin White, was my last athletic director there, and 2 of the best in the business. And I think the biggest thing for me with Coach K is that you always speak the truth and you're always honest with each other. And so, the context that Coach K would tell that is mostly with his players, that when he tells them they screwed up, he's telling them the truth, and they may not want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
When he tells them they did great, they do want to hear it, and it's also the truth. And I think, like everything, when Coach K speaks to his team and you listen and absorb and all those things for all those years, that you apply it to your own life. And so to me, that's the number one thing, and that's what earns you trust, and that's what earns you, the ability to form great partnerships, relationships. And so it all starts with that one thing. And then Kevin White was always, I can remember my first meeting, he was my athletic director for my last 13 years. And I can remember the first meeting he had with us, our senior staff, and he said, I will be as transparent with you as you earn. And so you earn all full transparency. And so I learned a lot about the business of college athletics and how to be an athletic director. And so I'm forever grateful for those 2 and being around them for as long as I was.
Those are some great values to take away. Did you happen, I know obviously we had a game against Marquette, but were you at Coach K's last game in Durham?
No, I was with our team. I was with our women's team the night before that at the Big East tournament.
Right.
Up in Vincent, we won. And then I left there that morning with my wife, and we flew to Milwaukee. I was invited by Coach K's family to come sit with them at the game.
Oh, wow.
And it was I know it was the right decision. I knew I wasn't going, but I gave it, we gave it full thinking.
Yeah.
And we had actually snuck down 2 weeks before. We played at Butler on a Friday night, one in Carneseca, and that was supposed to be our off weekend. And so we had planned to fly down there, and we did. And we went to the FSU game.
Oh, nice.
It was the first time in all of my years that I didn't have a suit and a tie on. back before the pandemic, we used to wear suits to games, and so I was in jeans and with all of our friends and saw so many people, and that was at the time, we didn't know we'd be invited, and we that was our farewell, so to speak, and be able to see coach and talk to him. And mostly what I'm looking forward to is after the season and being able to go down memory lane with him and drink some
Right.
great wine. He has a great wine collection. And so we both share that joy, and that's, the other night would have been fun until the end to be there, but
Right.
And I watched it on TV and all that, but no, I've got a day job, as I told them, and I love my day job, and it's the right place to be, and I'm right there with our staff and our student athletes and kids every step of the way.
Well, we love to hear that you picked St. John's, and obviously you picked St. John's coming from Duke. So what kind of made you come to St. John's?
Well, I would say, it's like everything in life, it's a two-way street. I mean, just because I picked it, it wasn't my choice. It was the choice of the president and the search committee that offered me the position. And I was very thankful for it, and still am. That, for us, in looking at it, we just really felt it was a good match. Being at a school that prioritizes basketball. Obviously, I was at a private school for a long time, so St. John's that, and I felt like I knew New York pretty well. I would say I didn't know it as well as I thought I did 3.5 years ago, but we love it, and mostly it was just a great opportunity, and we still see it the same way. And as Kevin White told me from day one, your only job is to try to move the needle a little bit every day. And, there's obviously, and we'll get into it if you have the questions about it, there's a lot of work to be done here. You guys know we're at a school that has not invested in basketball as an institution for 30 some years, arguably.
For sure.
And so it doesn't come overnight. And as you'll recognize from my story, that's how Duke was. Now, I don't have 30 years left. I'm too old for that. So we've got to do
sure?
it for faster than 30 years. But I can assure you that if you walked around Cameron, where my old offices were in 1987, and you walk around the halls of Carnesecca today, you would say, interesting, very close. But that's a big gap.
Right.
30 some years.
Yeah.
And so we know the job ahead.
For sure. But since you've come in as the AD, and I know I speak for Cragg and Tim when I say that, you've made some major changes moving in the right direction. What do you see as your vision for this program moving forward?
Well, for all of our student athletes, we have 17 sports and 340 some student athletes, is to have a great experience. My job is, we're in the kids business. And that means that when we make decisions, we're doing what is best for the student athletes. And you will always come to the right answer when you look at it from their prism and what to do and make the right decisions. And so for us, our vision is that we should have a championship level basketball program, which is the A1 priority of our university. We saw it that way when we came here. Now, certainly under Father Shanley's guidance, and as our leader, as the president, he knows the value of athletics, but specifically men's basketball, to the success of an institution. And that's what he lived as president of Providence for 15 years. And so he knew the task ahead when I first walked him around and gave him that same tour I invited you to, that we have a lot of work to do. And so he gets that, and he champions it and understands it. And again, it's not a flick of the switch. And there's been a long-term uninvestment. And so that's our number one thing, or those are our first two things. One is our student athletes. Two is our men's basketball program. And then I think we're more than capable of being at that level, always competing for Big East championships and in all of our sports. And certainly men's and women's soccer has proven that. Volleyball has already proven that. The history suggests that baseball, all of our sports are capable. Softball, women's basketball, we're in a bit, men's and women's tennis. I'm excited about our golf programs. Fencing program is among the best and most elite of all the country.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of great things here. And so, a little setback with the pandemic, like everybody else in New York, but we're very, very excited about the future.
So we love the hashtag expect to win mantra. Where did that come from?
I guess it's my communications marketing goofiness background. I really just I felt like we needed something to hang our hat on, and expect to win means you have to prepare to win. You have to, be ready to win. You have to be worthy of winning. It's a lot of steps to the point of expect to win. And so that's what, it takes a lot of work. And I think that's what we try to instill, and all of our coaches already instill in our student athletes in every sport, is that it takes a lot. It's a large commitment. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the mindset that you expect to win, and you can't visualize that, you're likely not going to win. And so to me, that's what we lacked. And that is a mindset that we do expect to win. But I think it goes for everything we do, whether it's fundraising, whatever it is, we have to not look at ourselves as the bottom of the conference and so many things that we are, because it's not where we're going to be.
Right. You talked a lot about, being uninvested for a while here in the men's basketball program. What are the main upgrades that you're currently focused on in terms of fundraising for the basketball program, and in terms of after the fundraising, in terms of the facilities at St. John's?
Yeah. So, really, we've spent the first 3 years really just rebranding and trying to, get us out of the look of the 70s. And I think we've accomplished some of that, not a ton. There's still more to be done, and we're still looking at ways to do that. But the number one thing, and it gets back to the priority of student athletes, is that day-to-day experience of being, I'll just stick to men's basketball right now, what it means to be a men's basketball player. And that means your locker room, the weight room, the training room, a lounge, a video room, the offices. All of those things add up to where these kids spend their days. And it's what we did at Duke. We transformed the entire athletics campus, but starting with men's basketball, that you have to do that. Every school has done that for the last whatever years you want to put in, except one in the Big East. And so Taffner Fieldhouse is a good start. We have a nice practice gym. But past that, there's no getting around the fact, and it's not like we go out and publicize this, but the internal reality is that we have to do that. We have to build it bigger and better. And so we've been in a feasibility study for the last several months. We've been in a silent phase of raising money. Mm-hmm. Father Stanley is deeply invested and involved. And I'll just say our lead gift collector. And so, we hope in the next couple of weeks, couple of months, that we're going to be able to really announce what we're doing. Certainly internally, we've already started bantering about that. And if the first year before the pandemic, my first thing was two things. One was create a master facilities plan, mm-hmm. and two, a strategic plan for athletics. And we did both of those. Both of those were right on the burner of getting in front of trustees. And then March 12th happened, and then shut down for 2 years. And so we haven't really publicly unveiled a master plan for all of our sports. And I don't know that will be the strategy going forward, but the strategy I know and we use as an internal document is men's basketball and women's basketball has to be upgraded. And so the student athletes first. Part of that goes at the same time in fundraising is how do we continue to make Carnesecca as good as it can be? And that's a challenge. It's an old building with a lot of codes and a lot of not modern amenities. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And that's where the trade-off is. We've got Madison Square Garden, but at the end of the day, we've got to figure out where do we have the most chance to win, and where can we make the most money, and where can we have the best possible fan experience to help us win. We all want the same thing. How are we going to win?
So-
And that's our priorities.
So this year we had 4 games at the Garden. Is that kind of the number we should expect going forward? Is that you're looking for that to change? And what is our relationship like with the Garden? Is it more of a, they kind of keep us on because it's historical, or do we have a really great relationship with them that, going forward in the future, they want to build on?
Right. Well, we actually had 5 games in there, counting the Pitt game. But for me, my experience, I was at Duke and did scheduling for a number of years. And so when we, being Duke at that time, looked to schedule games in New York, we went cold call to Madison Square Garden and a person named Joel Fisher, who is in charge, and he's become a great friend of mine. And little did I know we'd be partners literally all the time. And so the relationship is fantastic. And the reality is the pandemic really set us back.
Right.
The reality is that the rent and the amount of revenue they can make in a non-St. John's Day is really vastly different than a St. John's Day. And so they're good partners to, keep us, so to speak. And it's, it is a two-way street. They recognize, they love college basketball and want to be a part of college basketball. And so I don't know the right number. When I first got here, I thought the right number was a lot more. And then pandemic hit, and obviously we've cut back. I would say that this year's crowds were, again, pandemic influenced, but disappointing. And so I don't know the right answer. So that's still to be determined how many games we'll be in, but I know we won't be any more. We can't afford to be in more, but they're great partners. We'll figure it out together. There's still something to a student, a prospect, a recruit to come here and see MSG.
Right.
So it'll always be our home in some regard. But it's a challenge to get to do more than what we're doing.
Yeah, it's funny. So we've had some of the older players on. We've had Marcus Hatton on and Kyle Cuff, and they kind of spoke about how for them the Garden, was kind of their home. But when we ever talk to any of the newer guys, some of the managers and some of the coaching staff, they always say that the Carnesecca games feel more like home because they've gotten bigger crowds and there's more excitement there than there has been in the Garden. So it's kind of funny to see how it's transitioned through the years.
Well, I mean, it definitely, has transitioned. I think there's a lot of factors involved. I will say this, that, one of the priorities of this current year was focusing on students coming to games and being a part of campus life. And I put a full-time person, that's all they do, is student fan engagement. And our numbers have been terrific this year. And through even last week's spring break game, we had a good crowd of around 500 students, but we've been as much as 1,400, and by far the best student crowds in my four seasons here. And so we're going to continue to be intentional about that. That to me is what college is about. It's a part of campus life and students and having a good time. And so not only did we get them here, they had fun when they came here. And does it mean you do giveaways and food and all that? Yeah, it does mean that, but that's fun. And so I can tell you this, in this off season, we're going to spend a lot of time on reinvigorating our game day experience in Carnesecca. We have a new marketing and promotions director coming. I had a consultant come in the Providence game, and it's not going to look or feel the same next year. And so I think, obviously you want traditions and things that you count on. Obviously we have great dance and cheer and spirit and all that. Absolutely. But there's also things that we can make our home even better.
I'm sure the students get used to coming to games, then when they graduate, they want to come back, right? If it becomes like part of the culture.
You got it. That's what's honestly been missing. It's just our young people have not returned. And so that's why I appreciate you guys and your interest. And I know as season ticket holders that you get it. We just got to find about 2,000 more of each of you. So if you You could have 2,000 more guests between now and the start of the year and interview each person why they haven't bought a season ticket. Then that would be great.
That's it. We'll start
We'll work
asking.
on it.
We'll get it on Twitter and we'll start asking. So we did have we had a game at UBS Arena, the new arena in Long Island. What did you think of that game? We went. We thought it was it was a packed house. It was Kansas, obviously. Can we expect to see more of those going forward?
Yeah, I think it was a good start. It was packed because they lowered the curtain. I mean,
right.
At the time, I thought, I was disappointed that we couldn't fill it up. I had pretty high hope that I felt like everybody was pretty excited back in August. We're bringing in a true blue blood program Friday night. I don't know what else we could script better. And
yeah,
so we drew 9,000. Now we had about 1,200 students, which was great.
That's good.
And we, again, worked hard with that. And our guy did a great job. Robert is his name. But it's still either pandemic or we're just still growing. And it's probably both. I mean, we know we need to grow. We're going to spend an inordinate amount of time in the off season cultivating and finding and selling. And we have a great sales team in Courtney Perzan and her team. We purposely third-partied our ticket out sales group again right before the pandemic started. But she's been great. You got to build those relationships too. And it's a relationship of fun and trust. And then, college basketball, it's different than pros. I mean, college basketball is about 18 to 22-year-olds that you just want to win, and they wear the same jersey and that you went to school most likely. And that's what it's about. And they give it their all. And does it make them perfect? No. But you know what? Nobody is. And so we just want the excitement to come and just have fun, be here for 2 hours, cheer on your team, and hopefully we win and we go on to, more wins. But, there's no guarantees.
So what can St. John's fans do outside of buying season tickets, which obviously is the main thing they can do, but in order to support the program? I mean, so they don't have thousands of dollars to donate, but what else can they do to get involved or help support the program?
Well, I truly do believe buying tickets and coming to games is the best way to support. And if you can't do it, then find somebody that will. And I think the other thing is it isn't about thousands of dollars. I mean, we need to find thousands and millions of dollars, but everybody can help. And I think that's a part of our, branding of the Red White Club for people to know that it helps all of our sports operate. I mean, we're running one of the smallest budgets in all of the Big East. We're running one of the smallest fundraising operations in all the Big East. We have, facilities that are not up to par in most of the Big East. And those are just realities. It's what I knew when I came here. It's what Coach Anderson knew when he came here. It's what Father Shanley knows when he came here. So we're excited about that. I mean, I hope you can tell I'm excited, and we're going to get this solved. And we have 170,000 alums in the tri-state area. I think most of them care about if our basketball team does well or not. And so we need them to come out here and be a part of it. And how that gets engaged in a post-pandemic, we lost a lot of momentum. You guys know New York City was different than the rest of the entire country. Maybe DC is the only place I've seen even remotely close to what we've gone through. And to this day, honestly, and that makes a difference. And, it's no excuses, but it was a reality. You deal with the cards that are dealt you. And so when we have to send kids home in boxes of food to sit in their dorm or their apartment for the last year and a half, not so much the last couple months, but I can tell you kids at Texas Tech weren't living that way.
Right.
I'm not picking on Texas Tech.
No, but for sure.
Oh, that's why we didn't play them.
Well, yeah, that is why we didn't play. Maybe I should pick on them.
Yeah.
You're right. And so the reality is these kids for the last 2 years talk to their friends and peers, and they're saying, man, I wish I could live like that. And we can't do it. Now we're getting to that. And I can tell you that as soon as this year is over, I mean, it's going to be a intentional, like we have to, just like today's the first day in New York City we don't have indoor masking.
Right.
I literally took the peeled off the sticker on our front door that says enter with a mask on, because nobody else had done it since Monday. We've been on spring break. Well, you know what? I showed up at 8:30 this morning and I peeled it down. Like, I don't want to see that crap anymore. And it's not, I mean, I know we had to do it, and I'm in favor of everything. Vaccines, booster, mask wearing, 100% in favor. But if we declare that's over, then we're not doing it. And I don't want reminders of it. So
for sure, it's, you know, it's time to move ahead. And you really have had a tough start to your tenure here. I mean, you know, it's been a rough 2 years, and you know, it's set everything back.
I'm not complaining. Don't worry about that. We're excited, and it's been fun to be on the road. We have great kids, you know, across the board. We have great coaches across the board. And so no complaints. And, you know, believe me, there's people in the perspective of the world. I'm not had it hard at all. I'm happy and I'm good. And, you know, I think of things like our fencing coach grew up in Kyiv.
Oh,
Ukraine.
Wow.
We have a fencer from Ukraine who I just heard today his entire town has been leveled.
Oh my God.
And now his family got out. But that's the people we need to help and hug, not me. I'm, you know, we're okay.
Right. Well, you know, hopefully his family is safe and that, you know, they get through this rough time. Let's talk a little bit about what are some of the best tools you think that we do have as a university to retain student athletes within the program?
Yeah, well, I think number one is we have great people. And I think it's a great educational experience. We have a campus that people don't realize how nice it is. People don't know how good our dorms are. And so we have a lot of great things here. I'm just giving you the cards that we're dealing with, but there's a whole lot of positive cards and why we have great kids that choose here and great ones coming, that we have first and foremost great people and a campus and an environment that cares about people. You know, we live in the most diverse county in all of the United States in Queens, and that is to be celebrated, and I love it. And I think our student athletes love that. And so they're getting a really rich experience of playing a sport here, of being around a university that prioritizes athletics and is you know, surrounded by people that care. I mean, I think that's the other thing, you know, I didn't mention at the beginning that I want people to know, you know, and my vision is that this is a place that we always are in care for each other. And so, you know, I spend a lot of time with our student athletes across all of our sports, making sure they're doing okay. We have a great executive team that does the same. You know, through all this pandemic, the one thing that St. John's stood firm with was believing and supporting us as people, employees. There was no layoffs, there was no firings. You know, it was tough.
That's great.
But the money didn't come from the people. It came from having to cut operations and things like that. My colleagues across the Big East can't all say the same thing. They were put in situations they had to, you know, people lost jobs. And, you know, we were in a hiring freeze, but people didn't lose their jobs. And so I'll forever be appreciative of our university, how it stood with its students, our people. And that's what St. John's is. That's why you guys love it. That's why I love it, that it stands for something. We are on a mission of education and a lot of first generation and opportunity. And that's why I think we attract the very best to consider coming here. And we hope, you know, do come here.
Absolutely. I mean, part of that plays into, you know, our legacy as New York's school, right? We are the main preeminent team in college basketball in New York. You know, you have done a great job of bringing some of those legends back with things like the Marcus Hatton bobblehead and the Felipe Lopez bobblehead, bringing those guys back. First of all, how do you choose who gets the bobblehead? But secondarily, kind of, you know, what is the criteria for legacy numbers and deciding, okay, who do we want to bring back and kind of, you know, re-engage with the fan base?
Yeah, well, I would say one, you know, the bobblehead history predates me. And so our marketing and promotions team does that. They do a great job. You know, Marcus Mo was picked this year, back at the beginning of the year. I think that's a fun, great way of bringing, our legends back. I'd say where we were more intentional in my actions, probably focused more in the last year on re-engaging, two things. One, Coach Anderson hires Zendon Hamilton to his staff. It was very important that we had a former player that was a part of the staff in the basketball program, because it's not just re-bringing our legends back or our great players, it's every player. And I think that's where the stability, and I was pretty fortunate. I came from a school that only had one coach, and so every generation is tied to that one coach, as was on display this past weekend. Here it's every 4 years somebody has a different person. You talked about your brother has 2 different coaches in 4 years as a manager. You go through the list and everybody's got probably 2 coaches at some point of their tenure here. That's not the recipe for long-term success. And so long-term success means you have to have leadership in place. Father Shanley's been doing this a long time. I'm an old guy and been doing this a long time. Coach Anderson's, older than I am, but I'm not going to call him an old guy, but he knows what he's doing, and he's been doing this a long time. And so we all come from that background of it has to be stable. And we have been very intentional with trying to get all of our former players back for all of our sports, honestly, but I'll just stick to men's basketball for this. We can save that for another podcast. But and so having the Coach Carnesecca statue dedication was huge. Mark Jackson being inducted into our Hall of Fame, huge. Us bringing back the Hall of Fame. When I got here, there wasn't a Hall of Fame, that it hadn't been done for, I think, 7 years. And that was an A1 priority in our first year. And Keegan Bradley was among the honorees that first year, and then pandemic, and then this fall with Mark Jackson, and we're going to have another great group again next year. And that's a priority. You have to celebrate and you have to create events around athletics. It's Absolutely. Not coming to a game. And so that's what I'm proud of, and what we have a lot of work to do to continue to bring those guys back and have them feel like they're a part of it. It takes time. It's not a snap your finger, and you have to be intentional in your actions.
So do you think we can see, some more numbers retired going forward? Maybe getting a Marcus Hatton jersey retired. He's a friend of our podcast. He comes on often. Yeah. So
he's great. He's a friend of mine too. You know what's interesting? We actually don't have any numbers retired.
Right, with legacy numbers.
That legacy group that was created several years back. We re-honored them in a new way with kind of telling their story more. We need to go back and revisit how to tell those stories and honor, but it actually isn't about jersey retirement. I can tell you that Chris Mullen would be the first one that gets his jersey retired if we do jersey.
Rightfully so.
And so, but do we figure out ways to do more of what you're suggesting? Yeah, I think we always are looking for those reasons to tell the story. And I've told our marketing and our communications team, same with our current student athletes. I mean, if you were to meet a Posh Alexander or a Dylan or Aaron, you name the group, anybody, they have a story. Mm-hmm. And that's what college is about. And how do you not root for Julian to make every shot?
Right.
We want him to make every shot, but he can't. I mean, that's okay. Neither did Zion Williamson. I mean, so you just cheer for our guy, and then you're proud of him. Tariq Coburn is having one of there may not be another in the history of college basketball that's doing what he's doing this year. And have we really done a good job of celebrating that? I would say okay, but are we really going to at the end of the year say, holy smokes, what Tariq just did in going to school in one of the toughest programs? The kid never sleeps. He gives it his all. It's like remarkable. And sometimes he just has to simply pull himself out of exhaustion.
Right.
Yeah. Coach would never put him in that spot or he doesn't talk about injuries or why somebody's not playing or whatever. That's just a part of the responsibilities being the head coach, and you play with the cards that are dealt you. But Tariq Coburn is one of the most special seasons of all time. I wish it was going to be able to be told on a more national scale, because it just is I mean, that's how the game works. If you win a lot, then they tell your story a lot. But if you don't, and you're right there trying to fight for wins, it's rare that it gets told. I thought the New York Post article about him a couple of weeks ago was pretty good. I wish there was more of that. He's a very, very special young man.
Yeah, I mean, think back, the Xavier center that was Uber driving, so his another player could get a scholarship. That was on ESPN.
Yep.
We got a guy that's trying to become going to be a medical student right now. You see what happens. He has a week off of school. He drops 20 points.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, all that behind the scenes stuff, you know, it kind of all can become a blur. And as far as to the outside, you know, you don't realize what's spring break, to your point, or a tough class, or somebody got nicked in practice and can't really go full steam. You know, who knows? Girlfriends break up with them. You
Right.
never. But this happens everywhere. That's again, that's what I love about college. It's, you know, as crazy as college has gotten, and it certainly has changed a lot of my time, it's still college to me, and it's a lot of fun. I love it.
So, you know, we were obviously speaking about this season, and to be completely honest, this season was a disappointing one. I mean, based on expectations, we underperformed, and you know, there's been a lot of, in our opinion, right? I think, you know, I speak for Craig and Tim also, a misguided anger directed at Coach Anderson. What do you say to those people who think, you know, it's time to move on, it's time to fire him, you know, after only 3 seasons?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, Father Shanley and I were talking a couple of weeks ago, and I think his story related is probably the best, that everybody wanted, or a lot of people wanted Ed Cooley fired last year. And, you know, are you really a head coach at a highly competitive program if you don't have people that want you fired?
Great point.
Name a head coach in a program that doesn't have that. I mean, and so, I mean, all I know is what we're doing, and I'm very bullish on the next week. You talk about, we're not done yet.
Right.
I mean, the season is not over. We're not ready to write the epilogue. And so I know that was the message in the locker room after Saturday night. It was a tough loss. We were right there again. And so, you know, that's what college sports are about. So all of that stuff, I'm head down focused on, you know, building and positive. Like I said, we all came here knowing there is not an overnight switch, and we're going to do it the right way. There's not going to be cheating. There's not going to be cutting corners. There's going to be a long-term determination to make this program what we all feel it can be. And I know you guys feel it can be. And it's got a national brand in the best city in the country, and in a pro sports market. So it's different. But you know, we are determined to bring it back to where it's once been, and we have great history, great alums, all the things we've talked about for the last 45 minutes.
Right.
We can do it. And so, you know, I never get your word disappointed or what's expected. I mean, I know the product that we and the kids we had, and I know all they've gone through and what they've worked hard through and what the staff's going through. And, you know, that's not for the public to know every day. But, you know, my message is that let's all stay the course, and let's all get behind these kids, number one. And there's a trust and a transparency that, you know, we have leadership, Father Shanley on down, that understands, and we want the same thing. So we're all on the same team. And if that's what you want it to win, then you know what, let's all get behind it and cheer on these guys. And that's our message. No matter if they all want them hired or they all want them fired, the message is still the same. I mean, so we were right there last year. This year, I still believe we can beat any team in the league.
Absolutely.
I agree with that, definitely.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, what's our goal? Is to be competitive, to be in every game, to win more than we lose. Don't get me wrong, but we are going to build a sustainable, competitive, championship level program. And if we look at the programs that have done that, they have greatly invested and they've had stability. And so we're just at the beginning stages of that, and we are set back. I mean, there's no getting around the life circumstances that we were set back. And so, but we're steadfast and excited about this week and beyond this week, and whatever comes our way, we're pumped.
Yeah, it should be an exciting week. We've got DePaul on Wednesday, so looking forward to that. Mike, it was great having you on. Thanks for joining us. We
Yeah,
really do appreciate it.
yeah, it's good to see you all on video. I look forward to seeing you in the arena.
Absolutely.
And, in Carnesecca, and if you have 2,000 more guests, remember, between now and the opening game next year, that'd be great. There's a bonus in it for you guys.
All right,
All
there
right.
we go.
Go get all our friends. We'll bring them out.
2,000 friends? That's amazing.
Well, we have to work on it. We have the whole summer.
Yeah, I mean, we got time.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
All right, it is a big city.
Yeah.
All right. It's great to see you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to thank Mike again for coming out on the show. It was really nice of him to take his time out and join us on the podcast. You know, it was cool to see his perspective and see the comparisons between when he started at Duke and now when he's here at St. John's, and also see, you know, the struggles that we face as a university and how, with the leadership we currently have in place, the direction we're heading is the direction towards where we all want to be. And I think, you know, with under Mike Cragg and Mike Anderson and Father Shanley, I think we've got a bright future, and it'll be exciting to see where we go.
It will be. I thought it was particularly interesting how they focus very heavily on getting students to games. I think that's an important key going forward. You know, you wanted to make it. That's the common thing. Everyone goes to games and they love it and they go there. And having hired someone specifically for that, I thought that was just a great point and very interesting to know that they did that.
Absolutely. So now let's take a look ahead to this Big East tournament week. It is, I know it's one of my favorite weeks in college basketball. It's
Love
probably the
championship
second
week.
best week in all of college basketball, championship week. And the Big East tournament is obviously a special event. So the first round starts Wednesday. First game, 4:30 in the afternoon. It'll be Xavier versus Butler in the 8-9 matchup. Following that will be us. It'll be a 7 o'clock matchup, St. John's versus DePaul, the 7-10 game. Following us will be a 9:30 tip, Seton Hall versus Georgetown in the 6-11 game. That'll be the first round. That's on Wednesday night. Now, win and you move on. Moving on to the quarterfinals, those games are back to kind of the normal Big East schedule. Now that there's 11 teams, that there's an additional game on Wednesday. The games on Thursday, the quarterfinals, are noon, 2:30, and then 7 and 9:30. So the noon game, Providence is the 1 seed, so they sit and await the winner of Xavier and Butler. The 2:30 game is Creighton and Marquette. That's the 4-5 matchup. Then the 7 o'clock matchup will be the winner of our game. The DePaul and St. John's game faces off against the 2 seed Villanova. Tough draw in Villanova, but it is what it is. Then the 9:30 game will be UConn versus the winner of Seton Hall and Georgetown in that 9:30 spot. So we're in the night version, I guess you would say, of the bracket. No noon, no 2:30 games. Will be the late semifinal game. Obviously, and then you have a 6:30 final on Saturday. So taking a look at the bracket, right? We're in the side. We got Villanova, UConn, Seton Hall, Georgetown, us and DePaul. Conversely, the opposite side, Providence, Creighton, Marquette, Xavier, and Butler. Not to be too optimistic, I kind of think we ended up in a better side of the bracket for us.
It's a trap.
That is the St. John's fans motto, right? It's, we always buy it, right? We're in it. I mean, I'm in it too.
I mean, look at it, right? I don't really want to see Creighton again, even though they beat us twice. We probably could win a game against them. Marquette, they beat us just on Saturday, and to be fair, we were in the game and we were right there, but I wouldn't particularly like our odds there. I hate Providence. I hate playing Providence. They're a good team. That's not great for us. Butler, we beat twice. Xavier, we beat twice. Not that we would ever face off the 8-9, but I don't know. I don't really want to play a team I beat twice again.
That Butler Xavier game is super important, by the way, for Xavier. They're fighting for the tournament.
Oh, absolutely.
On 4:30 on Wednesday. That's a great game.
That is a key matchup for the Big East too, because if we're going to get 7 teams in, we're going to need Xavier to win that game. Now, on our side, Villanova, yes, they beat us twice. We always kind of feel like we can get Villanova, even though it's usually not true.
For some reason, we have this feeling that we can.
DePaul just looked really good against us in the last matchup, but we did beat them in Chicago. So, we're at home, not technically, but in Madison Square Garden.
I think DePaul.
We'll talk about the 12 game in a minute. I don't really want to talk about them yet because we got a whole look ahead to them.
Sorry.
Seton Hall, we split with them. We can certainly win a game against them. Georgetown's not going to win anyway, so that doesn't matter. UConn is a game where I know we've got robbed 2 games. That's a game.
Yep.
I would love a UConn matchup in the semifinals, mainly because we'd be in the semifinals. but secondarily because we'd be facing UConn, which could be great for us to get a little payback.
And we were close beating them twice. Little things didn't go our way, so if we can never get to UConn on Friday, first of all, as Vince said, Friday would be great. We haven't been to Friday in 22 years, so that would be nice to be there. We would all love that.
Certainly we would. Before you get to Friday night, though, we play 7 o'clock on Wednesday against DePaul. You win that game, you advance, you play 7 o'clock on Thursday against Villanova. That is the path for St. John's. It's 7 o'clock, and then it would be a 9 o'clock semifinal, and then the finals. Villanova awaits the winner of our game. Then that lower game, UConn is the 3 seed, also in this side of the bracket. Seton Hall most likely going to beat Georgetown, so that game most likely going to be UConn Seton Hall in that other quarterfinals. Hoping to get a win against DePaul and play Villanova.
Yeah, let's hope we get past DePaul, and then we'll look to Villanova and beyond. That Thursday night, by the way, is the Big East tournament dream. Potentially a St. John's, Seton Hall, Villanova, UConn session, which is probably the highest resale tickets you can ask for.
Yeah, I mean, this year for the Big East tournament, Ken Palm gave us a 3% chance of winning the whole thing.
So you're saying there's a chance, Tim?
Saying there's a chance.
All right, let's look ahead to the DePaul matchup. DePaul finished the season strong, winning 3 of their last 4 games. Finished the season at 500. They've got Javon Freeman-Liberty, who leads the Big East in scoring, 21.9 points per game. He also leads the team in assists and steals per game. He averages 3 assists per game and just under 2 steals per game. David Jones is their other guy to watch out for, 14 points per game. He leads the team in rebounding, though, with almost 7.5 rebounds per game. Just to take a quick look at the team comparisons before we look back at our matchup with them. In terms of points per game, St. John's 79.7, first in the Big East. DePaul only 73.3, good enough for 7th on the list. So hopefully we can offensively outscore them and end up, just winning that way. But rebounding, we're 3rd and 4th in the Big East. DePaul 3rd at 38.5, St. John's 4th at 38.2, so just below. Turnovers, DePaul is 6th in the league in turnovers. St. John's has a plus 3.8 turnover ratio. DePaul, however, is at net zero. They're 0.0 in terms of their turnover margin. So that's a number we're hoping to exploit. In terms of rebounds, negative 0.7 for us. In terms of the rebounds, for DePaul, it's plus 2. So hopefully that's not a number they exploit. It's a number we're able to turn around, out-rebound them, out-turnover them, and come away with a win. Looking back at the last DePaul matchup, 99-94 loss against DePaul. 99 points was the problem. We gave up way too many points to a team who doesn't always score that many points. Javon Freeman-Liberty led the way with 39 points, a career high. David Jones had 23 points as well for the Blue Demons. For St. John's, Julian Champagny led that game, 26 points. Aaron Wheeler had 20. Posh Alexander didn't start, but he had 18 anyway. We're going to need somebody outside those 3 guys, if our last matchup shows us anything, to come away with the victory. And we've got to contain Javon Freeman-Liberty. Those are the main 2 takeaways, I think, from that previous DePaul matchup. That's how we come up with a recipe to advance in the Big East tournament.
I think the thing that worries me a little bit about DePaul, I mean, I actually like the fact that we beat them once and lost them once. I would be worried if we beat them twice that we would not beat them a 3rd time. So having lost to them, I think this one's kind of more of a toss-up. I think this DePaul team's actually a little underseeded. Not underseeded, I mean, obviously has to do with their record, but I think with Freeman-Liberty having missed the amount of games that he did throughout the regular season, this team is probably better than the 10 seed that they are. They probably should be in the 8-9 game. So we might have got a tough draw here. But, hey, look, we're playing for our lives at this point. This is the last path we have. The season's not over. This is the week we got. So no matter what, what team we're playing, DePaul, we're playing for our lives. So the DePaul game is what we got to do, and we got to take care of business on Wednesday night.
Absolutely, we do, and it's going to be, it's going to be a tough one. Like you said, Craig, they're coming off the last matchup against them was a win for them, right? So they've got to feel pretty well, having just beaten us at home.
They know they can score on us. Scored 99 points.
Certainly know they can score on us. 99 points. It's going to be a rough game, and it's funny as a 7 seed, you think, the 10 seed probably is further off, but it's Big East, man. None of the seeds are easy. Sure. No game, with the exception of maybe Georgetown. no game is a walk away.
They're gonna get somebody. They might got
So they got one more game. This
Wow.
is their last
I
chance.
keep thinking they're gonna get somebody.
This is their last chance. They won 0 games in the Big East. So if they're gonna get anybody, it's gonna be that game against Seton Hall because otherwise their season's gonna end not having won a game since December. Which, geez, we think we got it bad.
Yeah.
It's rough down there in Washington D.C. All right, so maybe our last game of the season, maybe not.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. It'll be DePaul Wednesday night, 7 p.m. on Fox Sports 1.
Hopefully the next time we're talking about the Big East championship banner that we raised.
We'll know next week, won't we?
We will. We will.
Let's hope. All right, that'll do it for this show.
One more thing, Vincent. I have to. Well, I was down in South Carolina last week. That's why I wasn't on the podcast. And I was at a restaurant in Charleston, and I met a guy who actually is from Brooklyn, but he moved to Queens. A guy named Emmett. So I told him about it. He was all excited. He's a big St. John's fan. So
Oh,
it was
nice.
nice to see him in Charleston. I was surprised out of nowhere. You get somebody from Queens who's a big St. John's fan. Listen to the pod. So Emmett, thanks for listening. We appreciate you.
Love to see some, non-normal, non-local fan listener of the podcast. Good to see. All right, that'll do it for the show. For Tim and Craig, I'm Vincent. Go Johnnies. Keep chasing.